All right, we are now back again to talk about Narrative Pro a little bit more and customizing metahumans so that they are now modular. Sadly, though, I still have a cold, so you're going to have to put up with my somewhat busted voice, but we'll get through it. And at the end, I'll also give you guys the actual files so you can play with this. Now, because I'm giving you the files, there's going to be certain things you have to do first. Obviously, Narrative Pro needs to be installed in your project. The second thing is you have to have all the setup for metahumans, and that includes making sure that you've at least generated one metahuman. Now, the reason you need to generate one metahuman is that when a metahuman is created, it not only sets certain things in the project, certain plugins and certain things that metahumans need, but it also creates the default skeletons that it uses. So if you try to add these files before you've created at least one metahuman and properly set up all the folders and files that you need, it's just not going to work. So after you've installed Narrative Pro and after you've created a metahuman, close the project, reopen it, and then you can add the files that I'm going to give you on our Patreon page. Now, it's really simple. You just unzip it. There'll be a folder with a bunch of files in it. All you need to do is close your project, copy the entire folder into the content folder of your project, and then reopen the project, and you're good to go. So what you're getting is you're going to get Oscar and Vivian again, and they're going to be sized properly. What is it? Tall, normal weight is the standard for it. Now, metahumans, the new metahumans, actually no longer use that standard. Like there is no tall, normal weight or medium, normal weight. None of that exists in the new metahumans. So I actually created these by going to the MetaHuman webpage and then converting them to the new metahumans. And there will be a separate video on just how to do this. And if you want to use that standard, which I needed not only to match the animation setup in Narrative Pro, but also I wanted it because I had a certain set of armor that we've kind of traditionally used through all our test versions of our game that also needed the tall, normal weight metahuman size. But I will make a separate video on going to the MetaHuman webpage and converting those, getting them into your project, doing the proper conversion, and having it so it still matches the proper height and proportions that you currently need. So what we're shooting for, and I'll go ahead and hit start here, is we want to have Oscar and Vivian, but we want them to be actually chopped into the proper pieces for a modular character. And that means that the hands are separate, the feet are separate, the head is separate, the upper body is separate, and the lower body is separate. And as you can see here, oh, sorry, the zoom's a little odd. Let me go facing the sunlight. You can see that we have all the pieces and they're working. And most importantly, the head seam, because the head and the body mesh have always had problems with properly aligning the seam. And we do make a blueprint change in for Narrative Pro to actually correct this. And down the road, this might actually mean some changes to dialogue, making the animation possibly additive or other things. But currently, the way I have it set up is the way characters are supposed to actually properly be set up if they're modular in the Unreal Engine. So down the road, if any other changes are made to make sure that it works well with the proper character setup, I'll go ahead and make future videos about that. But you have all of Oscar chopped up with all the files, including the grooms. You have all of Vivian set up as well, and the blueprint code that you need to run them. And we'll look at that. So let's go ahead and stop this. And now let's go look at the appearance that we have set up for him. Now, on the appearance, we actually use in the body mesh, you'll see that this uses our player base. And this is our skeleton from this metahuman, the male, but we've hidden the feet. You notice that it's using an invisible material. And we removed everything except for the soles of the feet. And the reason for this is uh, Unreal Engine, when you do modular characters, there's a top node that everything else is underneath. This is like the parent skeletal mesh. And you cannot make runtime changes on the parent skeletal mesh. That's just the way it's set up with the engine. And you can't make a skeleton by itself without a mesh in the Unreal Engine. So what you have to do is maybe leave one or two polygons. We left the soles of the feet and make them invisible. So this is our parent mesh, our parent skeletal mesh, that everything else underneath can be changed on the fly at runtime. So let's go back to our appearance here. So we have our base in. By the way, this is an ingenious setup. I don't know if people realize this, but you have this tag system to tell if it's male or female. Now, I do hope that they add a sub tag under male and female for race 1, race 2, race 3, do like up to race 6, because that's actually needed for a modular character system, because you might have items like a bikini where you're showing areas of skin, and we need a way of tracking not only what to put the right modular piece in, but also to change the skin color in case there's exposed skin on an item. So as I go down here, one of the things I want to mention is the face. I don't know why this was turned off. It should never be turned off if you're making a character properly. The head face mesh needs to use the leader pose. It needs to follow the body. Otherwise, the seam will never match between the head and the body. I have a strange feeling that's why in the character creator scene, they actually have it set up so you have clothing and they don't use nude characters. Now, when it gets to multiplayer, they're actually going to want to change that, because it should be you have these bases that are nude. Then in the character creator itself, in the code, you assign it the default clothing set, and then you can modify the colors of that clothing. What they have now is that instead of having these body parts like the torso and the legs or the lower body, they're actually using default clothing. It's not the way you want to go, because I can tell you for a fact, once we add the multiplayer functionality to this framework, multiplayer players love to get naked and go fight. So you want to have it set up from the start that you're doing the clothing as a separate thing. So the other thing I added, obviously, is I hit the plus button right here, and we added the new hands that we have. And really, that's pretty much it. This is the old Oscar appearance. I've just changed it to add the fact that we've now actually chopped up the metahuman body properly and have all the pieces. Now, you'll notice that on our blueprint class, if we go over to this, and it's already open, but you have to do some changes here. So I just duplicated I believe I duplicated the feet and then changed the wording, the spelling to hands, capital HANDS. Then you have to go in and drag this. You can just grab it and drag, and you can see that you can add it to it. So if we go over here to the body parts, you'll see that I clicked add pin and I added it to the hands. Now, Over here, I've actually noticed that here's the torso, and then for first person, and I don't know anything about the first person code yet. I haven't checked it out yet, but I feel like this is where Rubes can give me a hand because I think that now that it's properly, the metahuman is properly chopped up and using the proper pieces, we might not actually need this stuff. But I don't know if they're using a separate skeleton in an entirely separate setting, set up for the first person character. But I'm sure Rubes will let me know. But I went in here and I've changed this to the new hands. And, this is using our torso. And it's really pretty much that's it. Uh, so you add the hands, then you add it over here by clicking add pin and adding it, and then change these values and you've got it. Now on the female, I'll go ahead and hit compile but in the female, if I come over here, I'll just go over to the female. Again, it's pretty much the same setup. If you look at the face, I've made sure use leader pose is selected. We've added our hands, and then if I go to its blueprint, because it's got a slightly separate blueprint, and the reason there's separate blueprints is on the males you actually have extra code here for things like mustaches and beards and all of that. See, here's the eyelashes, brows, hair, mustache. On the female, again, I closed the face mesh. I just duplicated feet, renamed it to hands. And when you do these, you want to make sure, go ahead and select it. You want to make sure the transforms are properly set. They should be all at 0. Scale should all be at 1. And then I've just went in here and added it. You can see here's the body as the leader bone component. But here I've added the hands and I just connected it and dropped it into the target node. Same thing with here. Hands is part of the target node here. And that's it. So besides maybe making some updates, removing code for the first person setup that may not be needed now that it's properly chopped up, it's all in there and it's working. If I hit play, even if you do things like extreme movement, notice that the head stays attached to the body properly. There's no seam popping up or any silliness like that. If you go to first person, you can properly see the hands and stuff. Everything's working. And I believe after we do the optimization, then for first person, then it should be even better. And that's pretty much it. Now, I'm going to make all these files available on our Patreon. Just so you know, we're actually trying to increase the number of people on our Patreon. Our YouTube channel is not monetized, so I'm hoping to get some support. The more support we get, the less side jobs we have to do for other people, and the more time we can spend on doing things like tutorials and stuff to help people out. So please do join. Subscribe to the channel if you can afford it. Throw a buck in on Patreon, and hopefully these files will be helpful to you. Have a good day.